Hey, Mark, you know what happens when the audio quality of our podcast goes up?
It means we're recording an advertisement?
That's right, and we've got Sarah and Paul here.
Hey, who let you in here?
I kicked the door down to tell you about Myth Understood.
That's Mark's store.
I pay the mortgage on this place.
You better hear about Myth Understood because I get to learn a new myth every other week by my best friend and comedy partner, Paul Bianchi.
I kind of like myths. What kind of stuff do you cover?
We cover every Greek myth. Maybe in the future we'll discuss other things aside from Greek mythology once we do it all.
Well, I'm going to get started right now. Where can I find the podcast?
You get your ass online to Stitcher, iTunes, anywhere podcasts are, and you look up Myth Understood Podcast.
What's the documentary with Mark Borchert? He makes a...
Who the hell is that?
God, the name is the tip of my tongue. It's about this, like, Midwestern dumb fuck trying to make a horror movie.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
American Movie.
Nick
It was just
loves
called
that.
American
Movie.
Movie. Yeah, I love that movie, too.
This is the era of making documentaries. American
Yeah.
blank. Welcome back to another episode of The Hell With This, an underrated movie podcast. You're the one who came up with that subtitle.
Yeah,
It's very catchy.
that's me. I'm Mark Heiliger. Hi.
I'm Chad Peter. And we're two drunk guys. Yay!
And with our powers combined, we are drinking beer.
We are drinking winter lager.
And Blue Moon Mango Wheat.
It says warm and festive on my beer. Is it going to be? Let's find out.
No, that's been in the fridge. That's not warm. Should it be warm? I can put it in the microwave for you.
Why does it say warm and festive?
Because it makes you feel warm and festive.
Well, this week's movie is not necessarily warm and festive.
Uh-oh.
Actually, I predict that after we have seen this movie, you will be in a fairly angry state.
Uh-oh. I just finished watching a documentary series on Netflix called
Angry Mark?
Shadow of Truth.
Oh,
It's basically the Israeli Making a Murderer. Did you ever watch that?
no.
Making a
But
Murderer?
I mean,
You know
I
what
have
it is.
seen, what was the other Netflix series about the nun who gets murdered?
The
Keepers.
Keepers, yeah.
That was,
I need
boy,
to
that
see
made
that.
me quite angry.
Well, basically, Shadow of Truth makes me even madder than Making a Murderer did, because we actually have a better idea of who should be in jail for the murder that whole series is about,
Right.
as opposed to Making a Murderer, where it's kind of like, we don't know.
Wait, you mean we have a better idea because of the documentary or what's
Yeah.
happened after the documentary?
Because of the documentary,
Okay.
or at least the people they talk to in the documentary. That's another story.
Is that like Dear Zachary? Did you ever see that documentary?
Yeah, goddamn, makes you want to just
That
gives you no faith in humanity.
right. That document. If you want to bawl your eyes out and see a documentary that's mind blowing, watch a movie called Dear Zachary. I won't say anything about it. Just
Yeah, it's worth it.
how you been? We just recorded Lord of Illusions.
Yep, I've been okay. I've been hungry, so I've been eating.
Yeah, you are hungry. Did you get any food?
Yeah, I got some fried pork skins.
Ugh. Those are those things that look like basically just dried skin.
No, look in the bowl down here. I mean, there's some nuts in there too. I'm doing the ketogenic diet right now,
And you're
which
just
means
supposed to
no
eat
carbs.
a bowl of skin.
You're supposed to eat protein and fat, and that's pretty much it.
That sounds disgusting.
It's a lot of cheese. It's a lot of dairy. A lot of meat.
Your farts must smell great.
No,
No, they don't.
no, they don't.
Well,
Funny you should
I'll
mention
drink.
that.
Great. Thanks. I'm glad I'm stuck in this room with you for 3 hours. So it's still Oscar Sunday. It was last week too when you guys
Yeah.
listened to the same podcast that we recorded 2 hours ago.
Do you have any predictions about the winners?
Um,
I only have 2 hopeful predictions. Blade Runner winning cinematography and visual effects.
okay, I could see that happening. I gotta say this year was pretty disappointing for movies.
Really, I'm actually looking forward to seeing all of these movies that I haven't yet.
I was gonna say you haven't seen any of them.
I've seen The Shape
I've
of
seen
Water.
most of them. So
I haven't seen 3 Billboards.
I've seen that. It's okay.
That is the smallest praise I've heard for that movie yet. Everybody else is like, "Oh my god,
No, it's
it is
just like
amazing."
it's a lot like Fargo, and I don't want to say that just because the lead actress is the
Frances
same,
McDormand, yeah.
but it kind of has a similar feel to it, and yet it doesn't come anywhere close to the same kind of movie that Fargo is. Some people love that movie and like, you know, want to put it up on a pedestal, but at the same time, I feel like it was kind of, well, let you guys decide on it. I just saw Lady Bird, which was the style of it was awesome. I can't wait actually to see what else she directs, but I was actually kind of disappointed that it wasn't based in the 90s because that's what I had heard.
Oh,
And it's based in 2002.
I know literally nothing about Lady Bird except that it was directed by...
Greta Gerwig.
Yes.
Yeah.
Apparently, I don't know that either. I couldn't think of her name.
What else is up? Mother, I assume, is not. I still haven't seen Mother. That'd be a good podcast one because I love Darren Aronofsky.
And that was a very divisive film.
Did you see it?
I haven't seen it. Looking forward to it, but I think I learned a little bit too much about it, so now I know what to expect,
Oh.
and it's gonna ruin the experience. Way to
Well,
go, Mark!
Then
You ruined the movie for
then
yourself,
you'll
Mark.
be the one who's seen it in this scenario,
Yeah.
even though you haven't. And we'll sit through it and suffer through it together. I can't even think of what else is up. This is the problem with the whole system that it is now. Though.
Now that
Like,
we have
now we
23
just
nominees
nominate
for every category.
10, but it's always like 7
Yeah.
because they never quite pick 10, do they? Or did they?
I thought they did the first few times. Like, that's how District 9 got nominated for Best Picture. Well-deserved nomination, I should
Get
say.
Out.
Oh, yeah, Get Out. That's
Get
a great
Out.
movie.
It was definitely good. I didn't think it was good enough to be Best Picture. But then again, nothing I've seen this year.
I think the way it got nominated is that it was such an unexpectedly good film. Like, people assumed it was just going to be another weird slasher Stepford Wives kind of a thing.
Right.
But, I don't know, it has more going on in it than the advertising would lead you to believe. And because of the particular social moment we are in right now,
Right.
people wanted to make sure like people saw that movie or that it got some kind of recognition, because if that went away and it was just like, oh, another fucking horror movie, another thriller, that would kind of be viewed as a mistake by future us. I think it deserves the recognition for sure. Is it the best picture? I don't know, but I'm glad it got nominated.
I felt the Best Picture was Darkest Hour. Which I don't even know if it's nominated or not.
Well, I know Gary
assume it
Oldman is for it.
because it's basically, I do want to see a supercut of Dunkirk and Darkest Hour
Yeah.
because it's two movies about the same thing from
Dude.
two separate.
Dunkirk is already its own supercut.
But Darkest Hour is like the version where you're seeing Churchill go through the same era, and like they could actually just cut the two movies into each other, and it would be an amazing movie. But
Perhaps.
separate.
Are you sure? Because Dunkirk kind of jumps around in time a little. You couldn't just like slap it into it.
I don't know.
Into
You
each
should
other.
cut it together. Find out.
Okay.
You're an editor.
Go get me some 4K source files for all
Sure.
that shit.
Okay.
And separate audio stems.
Okay, pal.
I think my favorite of the year was Blade Runner 2049,
Yeah.
and my second favorite was Dunkirk.
Last Jedi is nowhere near the top.
No. I enjoyed it. It is what it is, but it's not in my top 10 of the year, I think.
Was Force Awakens nominated? I know Rogue One was not.
For Best Picture?
Yeah.
No, Force Awakens was not.
Okay.
No. Are you kidding? Jesus Christ. Get out of my house.
I still think it's better than Last Jedi. But we have yet to have that Star Wars talk. But
Right.
we'll save it for the
it's
actual...
coming out on Blu-ray soon, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, soon. We'll talk all about Star Wars.
Can we
for
watch
hours
Rogue
and hours
One
and hours.
instead and talk about Last Jedi during that commentary?
What?
Or watch Solo since it comes out in 2 months?
It does?
Yeah. I've actually been hearing good things about Solo. Shockingly.
Probably because they reshot most of it.
They're still reshooting. I read... What did I read? I read a tweet by Robert Meyer Burnett, the guy who directed Free Enterprise, because he's posting and he always talks about his contacts and people who are editing certain scenes. And there was one in advance of Rogue One coming out, he posted something about how a friend showed him the edit of the Vader scene at the end of the movie.
Oh, and he was like,
how
it's amazing.
amazing it was. And then it turned out to be amazing when you actually see the movie. And I was
Right.
like, okay, so he actually knows something. And this time he's been saying a lot about how Solo is actually a pretty damn good movie. The only question now is, are they going to finish it by the actual date?
They just need to get Ridley Scott in there now. Get rid of Ron Howard. Get Ridley Scott in to just put the finishing quick touches on it, like All the Money in the World.
It's funny, like they said basically that Ron Howard just keeps sending him back, and they've probably reshot 90% of what was shot. So it's like basically Ron Howard came in.
If the other guys were making this Solo movie like 21 Jump Street, yeah, I can imagine Disney was not happy with that. That's not Star Wars.
Well, in the trailer, you could see that at the last shot in the trailer where he has that line where he's kind of doing his goofy.
Oh.
He turns around and he says something. He's Han Solo in the chair, and he turns around and is like, I knew it. I was just dodging that. Just wanted to make sure you guys understood that. It was like very 21
Very improv. Yeah.
And I was like, I guarantee you that line is not in the movie. It's one of those
We'll
Rogue
see.
One moments
Where the TIE fighter is right in front of
60% of the trailer is not in the movie.
it. Yeah.
And
Which is kind of, God, that's a whole nother thing to talk about. Is that okay? Is that false advertising, or is that just kind of, is the trailer just supposed to get you excited regardless of if these shots are going to be in the movie later?
yeah, what are the legalities of getting someone's hopes up?
Yeah.
Is it false advertising? Absolutely, it's false advertising, because you're advertising that it's got one thing in it, but then you go and see it, and it's clearly different.
I wanted to see Jyn Erso in a fist fight with a TIE fighter, and that didn't happen.
Well, that makes one of us. Because I had no interest in that bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't know, we're way off on a tangent. So we're watching a movie called American Teen.
American Teen, I've never heard of this. It's a
It's
documentary.
a documentary from 2008, I want to say, by Nanette Burstein, who's a great documentary director?
Filmmaker?
Can you call him directors?
Documentarian?
Documentarian, there's a good one.
Yeah.
She also did what ended up being the inspiration for I, Tonya, another good movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's, I just saw that this past week.
Yeah.
I loved it.
That
The
was
guy who
great.
plays Sean, like the bodyguard guy,
Yeah.
got robbed
Oh, I
of
saw
a
you-
fucking nomination.
I saw you tweet that.
That guy was incredible.
So she did the ESPN 30 for 30 documentary on Tonya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan, that whole thing, years after she did this documentary. And I feel like I've seen one other of documentary that she's done, and it was fantastic. It's just somebody who really understands how to do documentaries. This one,
That's
in particular,
When,
does help,
when you're a
right?
documentary filmmaker, it helps if you know
many,
how to do it.
There's not many that have like actual names outside of who's the guy who always gets his documentary subjects to look directly into camera.
Oh, fuck. I just watched his TV show on Netflix. He did Wormwood.
Yeah,
He did Thin Blue Line.
right. Errol Morris.
Daryl Morris. I know a guy who worked with him.
So there are directors out there who have names.
The guy who did Blair Witch Project 2, he's a known documentarian.
God damn it. Did they actually went after a documentarian for that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The guy, he did like Metallica, Some Kind of Monster, that documentary.
Oh.
He's the one who did the West Memphis 3, like Paradise Lost 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his name. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
But there are some people who are just known for that crap.
So this documentary, I think Ebert gave it 4 stars. I think that's why. That was back when I read his reviews, and
that's what killed him.
That's what ultimately gave him cancer. Anytime he gave something 4 stars, I'd usually check it out.
Mm-hmm.
This documentary, from what I understand, they basically researched a bunch of different high schools around the country. They landed on one in particular, which I think is in, I want to say, Indiana. And they went to the school. They basically auditioned, so to speak, interviewed everyone at the school, and they narrowed it down to a handful of kids that they wanted to follow. They got permission to do this, and then they literally just filmed everything the kids were doing.
I think I'm remembering this now. Yes.
For like a period of time, and it was. I mean, we'll see the movie in a second, but it was definitely kind of one of those documentaries where you're just like, damn, like there's some stuff that's just like, and how close does the documentary get to its subjects, and whether or not there's some ethical questions there. And I think the town had some issues with the movie, definitely after this movie came out.
Interesting.
We can get into
everybody was a teenager once. Everybody should know what it was like to be a teenager.
And it was miserable, and I'm glad it wasn't filmed. I'll say that. So.
Yeah, well, I guess we can talk about it later, but that raises the question. Every fucking teenager now films their own life.
Right.
And puts it out on the internet.
So
for everybody to
and
make
this
fun
kind of
of
thing. Yeah, and I really feel sorry for kids these days, because it's like,
I would have committed suicide a long time ago if I was a teenager.
well then.
In this day and age, I would have just been like, well, I'm checking out.
I feel like eventually, I mean, we definitely shame people. We socially shame people now on the internet. Like, they might as well be dead. Like, if you're,
I mean, I'm sure.
It's like, I can't even imagine the next time we see someone like Kevin Spacey, who did something 30 years ago. Presumably he's done it many times since then. But like, if we're holding people to that sort of standard where 30 years after the fact,
right, the people in this documentary are going to have a film devoted
to them,
to whatever stupid shit they did at the time.
Right. So, you said you remember this? Did you see it?
No, I didn't see it, but I remember hearing about the way it was produced like that.
All right. Well, why don't we check it out?
All right.
Be a good year.
I don't fit in. I hate it. Warsaw's such a conservative town, and I'm so not conservative. Turn it up, man! Turn it up! Most people around here just stay, in Indiana. That doesn't sound great to me. I do what I want to do. I'm here to be me. I know it's wrong, but I just believe in getting even.
I don't have many friends, so it's always been really important for me to have a girlfriend. Hey, is Lauren here?
Yeah.
I'm relying on this season to get a scholarship for basketball.
Dad doesn't have money for college. Otherwise, it's hard me.
I've made up my mind to stay away from anything like a boyfriend.
4 years, and I've never met Hannah Bailey. It's not too late.
It's just like unbelievable. There's so many girls that would give their left boob to go on a date with him. How do you feel about her?
I like her.
Scale
She's
from 1 to
cool.
10?
I don't know. Don't have the number yet.
Sean, he looks like Magic Johnson. That's what my mom says. Like today, not when he was thin and good looking.
It's 47 all, and Clemens can still be the hero of this game.
I have no idea how this is going to turn out. Right now, I guess you could say I'm falling in love.
Right, so anyway, American Teen.
That is very compelling stuff.
And I'm not sure.
Kind of gives me flashbacks.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
being
maybe
honest.
that's what it is. It's like it reminds you of how shitty high school was.
Yeah.
And all the drama that goes along with it. But it's done in a way that definitely doesn't hold back any punches. You know, it's clear that they really just let the cameras run wild in the school, for one.
Yeah.
Like they filmed like everything. And
I
there's
wonder
some
how many-
situations I'm like, how did the documentary crew like really convince them
Yeah.
to sit in on something that's pretty incriminating?
I'm sure the principal and vice principal were thrilled about having their meetings with the
Yeah.
students filmed. And I wonder how many people they filmed that they followed around a little bit more that didn't make the final cut. Like their stories weren't dramatic enough.
Right.
Or whatever. And you mentioned some like ethical questions that arose from the movie. That is one of them with any kind of fly on the wall documentary. It's not just what they're showing, it's what the filmmakers cut out. Because you have to make a choice.
That's true. Yeah.
You always have to choose what your story is going to be. And they chose, obviously, the ones that are all about friends backstabbing other friends and relationships falling apart and
Well, it
people
was
feeling like losers.
I mean, to be honest, it was the thing that they definitely go after the stereotypical characters of who we're following. Like you've got Hannah, who's like the art school wants to go to film school, like artsy girl who's quirky and weird. You know, you've got the blonde cheerleader type who's the queen bee.
The student council president or whatever she was.
You know, you got the jocks, you got the nerd,
and I think that the movie touches on the fact that everybody is more well-rounded than just those images that we have, those stereotypes in our minds. Because like the queen bee one, we find out halfway through the movie that a couple of years ago her sister committed suicide
in the basement,
of their house, and that like affected her the most out of anybody in the family. And it's kind of like,
but you also see her spray painting dicks and the word fag.
Yeah, like you see
glass, like it's somebody's house to like.
You see her doing all this bad stuff first, and kind of like not getting along with people who are supposed to be her best friends.
Right.
But then you learn that, and you kind of go, well, is she acting out because she feels guilty because her sister committed suicide? And you don't really know, and I don't think she knows, and she probably will be dealing with that the rest of her life because that's a major thing.
I mean, it sure as hell doesn't justify everything
it doesn't,
she does.
No, it's not justification, but it's at least a reason.
Right.
It's not a good reason, but it's still, it comes from somewhere. It doesn't come from the sky.
They effectively took over the town, took over the high school, and like I think I read up a little bit on like how this affected the town, how the town reacted to the premiere. Mm-hmm. And
I hope the premiere was at the local theater. As
you can expect, there were definitely some people who were probably pretty outraged at like what they show, what they see.
Well, in terms of what, showing these rich kids get away with everything, or what?
Not necessarily that, and they don't really get away with it. I mean, they're on a documentary, like clearly.
Well, I mean, the spray painting.
You've been documented as being a total dick, and sending like there's a case that kind of like is heartbreaking in the movie because it's like some girl takes like a nude selfie and sends it to a kid she knows, and that kid's best friend, who is the the bitchy cheerleader type basically takes the picture and spreads it through the entire
a
school.
Viral thing, and
then,
people are harassing her, leaving voicemails.
Which is pretty common now. And back in, when I was at high school, it sure as hell was not.
Yeah. Well, smartphones weren't quite around when they filmed this in 2006.
And you give a camera to a kid, and they're gonna do dumb shit with it. And
and that whole plot line, we talked to that girl very briefly, and she's saying on camera that, she doesn't take it to heart. It's just people trying to like have fun, or they're doing it out of boredom. But she's crying at the same time.
Her face is like someone who's like destroyed.
Yeah, like I'm amazed that we never come back to her, and how devastating this was to her life in her last year.
We see her briefly, like on. We get those little vignettes of like school news, like on the television in the corner of the room. Like, she pops up but we don't know anything about her. She looks obviously in a much different, and who knows like what the timeline is for the events and how it was edited. I'm sure they kind of slid things around, but I mean, just imagine being the parents of that person, watching this documentary.
Seeing what happened at this school.
You'd want to go murder the other kids, and
sure.
Like, I'm sure this created,
and I guess that's what I mean by the movie shows her getting away with something. She's on school student council. She's been out of trouble most of the time, and so they kind of go like, and we're gonna let this whole fag thing slide.
Right.
Today, that's grounds for dismissal.
You'd be expelled, for sure. This movie breaks the prime directive. It affects the documentary crew obviously would have, since they've been injected in there. It was clear they definitely caught some stuff that, it was clear the documentary crew wasn't necessarily interfering, obviously, with everything, but they had to have interfered occasionally, because there were definitely like shot setups.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, we need Hannah laying on the bed, like looking like she's pondering something.
Yeah. Or Hannah's first day back at school after she's been out for 3.5 weeks.
Right.
Like they have a nice shot of her taking her first step into the classroom. That didn't just happen. They fucking told her to wait while we set the camera.
So you always kind of wonder like how much of that was kind of like choreographed by the production, but at the same time you see one of the bitchy friends, the bitchy girl's best friend, like literally holding her sound pack. Like, they all have lavaliers. And she pulls it off her back, and she's holding it, dangling it, which is clearly like film equipment.
Don't play with that.
She's like, "Fuck this," and she like throws it and like
slams it on the table.
Yeah, runs away. Like, so it's like, it's almost like a nod. And I'm glad those moments are in the movie, because it is kind of a nod, like that there's more than just, the film production is there, but there's still like, it's almost like they'd gotten to the point they'd gotten so comfortable with the film crew being around that they.
Yeah, that's just part of the thing. They know if they're going to leave, they have to take that off. They can't leave with it. I am, there's sort of a scientific theory, I guess, that I always remember from the man who wasn't there. I can't remember the actual scientist who came up with it, but it says that the more you look at something, the less you really know, because your observation is changing the behavior of whatever you're looking at.
Yeah.
So I wonder, some of the things that are said and done in this movie, is it these kids trying to basically perform and come up with something good for the camera?
It probably was in the beginning.
That's what kids do. That's what people do. Not just kids, but like when somebody's following you around for 12 hours a day. You don't think those kids were
stoked that they were picked to be on camera? And
even the nerdy band guy, I'm sure he was very excited. Like, oh yeah, we're going to find out all about me.
Right. But I do think that like that does go away, and eventually it becomes an annoyance. And I'm sure a lot of stuff happened outside of the cameras, but it seemed like they were very good at knowing what was happening. This takes place over the course of a year. Was it, or the last semester?
I think it was a year, because we
third
or half away through we see winter.
Right. So it's like they must have had God only knows how much footage.
Yeah, God.
I'm sure they followed around many other people too.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow, some way, they locked in on these kids, and And
this is all standard def, it looked like, right?
yeah.
So at least they
Just
saved
small
a little
cameras, yeah.
They saved some hard drive space.
The IMDb says the budget was $6 million, and
I bet a lot of that was sound work, though.
Well,
just post-production in general.
I'm sure most of it went to the families, like, because you don't get to just take over a town and convince people to like follow your children around.
But even if they were paid scale for SAG or whatever those prices are, I'm sure it was like not $6 million worth.
No, but if it probably add up, like if you paid each family $20,000, you know, that adds up when you've got countless families in the movie. It's like, you know, and occasionally, it was weird. Occasionally you saw faces blurred out, but for the most part, they were not.
Mm-hmm. So pretty much everybody in the school had to sign off that we're okay with being in this movie.
Exactly. And like I said, I mean, so much of it's like kind of incriminating for some kids. Like,
yeah, can you imagine graduating from Notre Dame and being known as the one who was in American Teen?
Right. They're probably glad. They're probably super glad that we're bringing this movie back up.
We should get them, see if they're on social media, and just be like, "Hey, any 10 years on from the premiere of the movie, do you have any new comments?"
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious. So, I mean,
probably
what did you think about this documentary?
I guess it's sort of like, it is very interesting to watch, and it's entertaining in that reality TV kind of way, because you do see heads butt and things happen in people's lives and everything's at stake, and people are going through self-doubt and everything that high school students do.
Yeah.
I don't know that it will mean much to me after we're done talking about it here.
Right.
Because I guess, I don't know, it doesn't strike me as a very important documentary, but
it's more of a slice of life.
It's a slice of life. It's very competently made. It's well edited. I do see a few too many like reality TV tricks trying to build tension and drama out of what was probably not that exciting.
Yeah, reversed footage, like to make it look like,
and dialogue over
heads that are turned.
Mouths obscured so we can't see that it's not them saying it right then. I would still, it's still very watchable. I guess I would recommend that people see it. Be prepared to have a lot of internal thoughts about your own days in high school during that time of your life, because just about everybody in this movie, I can see a little bit of that in me. Every person they follow, I'm like, oh yeah, I've done that too. Oh shit, I did that.
You spray painted dicks on someone's
house? I didn't
house?
do that. I was a pretty good kid, and I never
don't know,
got.
Mark, you can admit it. I mean, everyone's here. We're here for you. You can admit it.
This is a safe space on the internet. Yeah, I'm sure. But no, I was a nerd at school. I didn't have a lot of popular friends. I got bullied here and there. It was not the worst time. It's not like I got the shit kicked out of me ever in school. But
Did you ever get in a fight?
Not really, no. Did you? I know you've gotten in fights since then.
Yeah, right. No, I definitely gotten like little squabbles, you know, pushing matches or like various incidences with like field hockey sticks, like, you know, smacking kids in the junk when they were, because, you know, like kids run up and they like smack you really hard in the shin, like to get out of the way, and you turn around and hit them in the balls. They aren't that happy about it.
Yeah. Well, nobody's happy in that case.
No.
No, I was pretty much the kind of person who just kept my head down, tried to stay out of people's way in general.
You went to school with Nick, though, right? Or...
he was a year behind me. He was a year younger than me.
Okay.
He still is a year younger than me, in fact.
I was going to say, what changed?
He caught up. Yeah, my first year in college, he was a senior in high school, and that's when we actually started hanging out. I didn't know him at all during high school, which is weird. I just knew who he was.
Right.
What the fuck was I gonna say?
Something about Nick's stupid face.
Oh yeah, he has a really stupid face. Yeah. I don't know if anybody realizes that. But the kind of clique I was in was composed of 4 or 5 people. It was not like we didn't own a lunch table at lunchtime. We got like a corner.
Yeah.
We just got an end of a lunch table. And senior year, I remember I was trying to like turn things around and actually get in the high school experience before graduating and going off to college. So I got involved in more of the clubs and things like that. Mm-hmm. And what was really weird in my experience was that anything that I was actually given some sort of responsibility for, like the yearbook, the popular kids would swoop in and take it over. It was weird. It's like they didn't want me to be in charge of anything.
What? So it's like, oh, Mark's...
They needed to create high school history in their own image.
Mark's on it.
It was something like that. I don't know what it was. I mean, I don't really care about it anymore. But at the time, it was very bizarre.
Yeah. Well, I can't think of anything offhand where that happened to me. Mm-hmm. Our group was a little bit bigger than the end of a table, but we didn't sit in the cafeteria. We sat in the hallway to the band room, playing Magic the Gathering.
Oh boy!
We were playing Dungeons and Dragons, and the funny thing was that we had the JV basketball team was like down the hallway out in like the entranceway, and they would just, they were all like a year younger than us. But they hated us and we hated them with a passion. They would gather up their bags of food and throw it at us like after lunch, and we'd grab it and we'd throw it right back at them. And then there was one time where I chased the kid through into the theater room, and like I was diving over chairs, lunging at him, and my buddy John like had to grab me and like tackle me to the ground, and he was able to get away. But we actually set a trap. We made sure the doors wouldn't open so that we could run and chase him into that room.
So he would try to open it.
And John was the only one who like saw any sense of like, this is probably not the best idea.
Yeah. Let's not accidentally murder someone in a fit of rage today.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I don't know, the whole time being there, like one of the characters is in this, like she's broken up with by her boyfriend and like breaks her heart, and then she just doesn't want to go back to school,
for
weeks and weeks until the vice principal's like, you have to go back or we can't give you,
like, if you miss 20 days out of the whole semester, we're not going to give you credit for it.
Right.
You'll have to do everything over again.
And like you were saying, like, you've been in situations like that. When you've been removed for something for so long, you just assume that the rumors are swirling, and you don't want to go back into that situation because it's like terrifying. And as a kid, you're especially terrified.
Yeah. I've always cared too much about what other people think of me.
Yeah.
And I think I still do. And I guess my argument has always been like, hey, the world is made of people. You have to care about what other people think of you.
Yeah.
But I think I take
structure.
that. Yeah, it's society. Wow. Civilization. I guess I have probably taken that too far. And even when I was a kid, all through like elementary school, through high school, I was always sick. I was just getting like ear infections and sinus. I was out of school.
Your hands? Maybe you should stop picking your butt.
Yeah, well, I think it all got a lot better when I got my tonsils and adenoids removed. But I was basically frequently out of school, just homesick with a fever, like bad.
Right.
And I think there were a couple times I was out of school for like 2 weeks, and when it finally came time to go back, like people were sending homework home so I could do it.
Right.
But there were the little details, like I don't even know my locker combination anymore.
Right.
I've totally forgotten it. What are people gonna think? I'm still kind of like getting over this illness I have. I'm gonna be gross. People are gonna think I'm a freak. Mm-hmm. And that feeling alone, what other people will think of me once I'm back, that was enough to make me not want to go back. So I totally understand where she's coming from. She was coming off of like a bad breakup, and she was feeling depressed, and that was sort of like,
it was hinted like that the guy, like, because they had slept together before She said, "Do you have feelings for me?" And he said, "No."
No.
No, not really.
So who knows what he's been telling people at school
Right.
about her, that she's just a slut who puts out.
Right.
He doesn't care anything about her.
Right.
So, rumors swirl. There was a time I was out of school for, I think, a week in high school. After Have I told you the story about how I fell down a hill of rocks at a gravel pit and I broke my collarbone and had a concussion? And
Was that where you were running and you slipped on a rock and cracked your skull
my head
open on the...
Tore my earlobe open.
Jesus.
Yeah. I was unconscious, but I was puking at the same time.
You probably have CTE.
Maybe. That would explain a lot. Like why I ain't so smart no more. But I was out of school for like a week, and I came back with my arm in a sling because my collarbone was hairline fractured. It killed to use my right arm.
Clearly you were jerking it too hard.
Yeah.
According to everyone in high school.
The rumor that had gone around while I was out was that I was in a car accident, or perhaps that I was driving drunk. And I didn't touch a fucking drop of alcohol until I was 21. So I knew that was
Where did
bullshit.
you first hear this rumor?
Oh, like, just people I knew in my German class, I think, told me.
Yeah.
I think even somebody came up and said, "Oh man, I thought you had like gotten in an accident in a car wreck or something." And it was no big secret, but that's what had gone around without me there.
Yeah.
Luckily, it wasn't anything too damaging because I didn't have much of a reputation anyway. Mm-hmm. I was just a guy. I was just a body that went to that school. But yeah, this is all like this documentary can really open some old wounds if you have them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that.
At minimum, it's like.
Did you do it? Let me ask you this: did you hate the high school experience?
Yes.
But you
And
still,
I
you still
even...
enjoyed this. Okay, that pretty much answers my question then, because I was going to ask. Like,
I don't want to make it sound
really...
like I had a miserable life forever.
Sure.
Like I didn't have a bad home life. My parents don't beat me. I didn't have a sibling that committed suicide in the basement.
Right.
Like if we're going to compare things, I just had like kind of an uneventful high school experience on the lower end of the social spectrum.
Right.
That was my whole life. I didn't like it. And I remember graduating, I had no idea what my life was going to be. I had been accepted to film school in Chicago. So I knew I was going to do that.
You had that going for you. Yeah.
I had that going for me, but I still was like, the thought kept running through my head. Did I fuck up high school?
Right.
Should this have been better for me?
Right.
But then, there's no time left to actually fix it.
Yeah, I don't, it's so funny. Like, I think about it now and I'm like, I feel very clearly focused on what I want to do. Mm-hmm. But at the time, especially back then, I remember definitely having those thoughts my senior year going, what in the hell am I going to do?
Mm-hmm. Like, I was sure I was going to end up an accountant somewhere. And I still might. I don't know.
Come on now, Mark.
Do accountants have a union? Do they have health benefits?
Well, it depends on where they work.
That must
Their
be it.
union is their job.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely brings back all sorts of different memories, and
Did you do a lot of partying like these kids, the richer kids?
No, not really. I mean, the only partying I really did was my senior year. I basically had finished all my core classes, and my last semester was. It was
study halls in a row.
It was more or less. It was 6 art classes.
Oh, nice.
I took drawing 3 times. I asked if I could actually take the same class 3 different times.
So your core was done, and everything else was electives.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, but I still barely made it out of high school because I just never studied. I never read any of the books I was supposed to.
Ah, well.
I did what I wanted to do on the side, and that was kind of continues on today.
Don't you give a damn about your permanent record? That looks like a no.
No, I think I graduated with a 2.8.
Ooh.
And I think my last semester I got a 2.2. Despite being all art classes.
Did you
but
do
I
the
ended up
SAT or
taking
ACT?
Yeah.
What,
I did the ACT. I don't remember actually what the score was, to be honest.
I think
it wasn't good.
This is either
wasn't
what I
great.
actually got, or it's a ridiculously high number because they don't go this high. But I think I got a 33 on the ACT. Isn't it out of like 40?
I think it was pretty solid. No, I just didn't care. I don't think I took the ACT. I just certainly didn't study for it.
Yeah. I don't think I did either because I felt that those tests should be an accurate reflection of what you actually know.
Yeah.
And if you do any kind of like particular studying for it, it's like, well, you're only learning it for this one test and then it's gone.
That's gone. Yeah. And it was such a general.
It's about the principle, damn it.
General questions, like, and I sure as hell wouldn't remember them now.
No.
But I was working at a comic book store from 1995 to 2000. Like for 5 years, I worked at a comic shop, which is all throughout my high school, and I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, almost all of my drama and everything all happened through either the comic shop or in relation to it. You know, I definitely had my arch nemesis in school. You know, I had the girl I was had a crush on. I think everybody had the same experience more or less. You know, I didn't have anything super dramatic happen. I didn't get like fights. You know, I wasn't expelled for anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I can remember one time I got yelled at for talking during a test. That was like the worst trouble I got in, and then it was over in about 20 seconds.
I think most people would say they didn't enjoy the experience of high school.
Yeah, I think, well, it's like the old stereotype, the people who enjoyed high school, like that was the high point in their life. That's not a good thing. Life should be better.
I enjoyed high school though. I really enjoyed it, to be honest. Like, especially when everyone at the time is telling you these are the best years of your life. You better pay attention, like, and enjoy it. Well, I see what they're saying now because I'm like, yeah, that's probably pretty accurate.
Best years of your life because you have very few responsibilities. Right. You're generally in good shape. You're young and healthy. You
Time
can go
goes
and do
by
things
slowly because you don't have to worry about bills.
Right. Every day is still new.
Mom's stressing out, but I don't know why.
I don't know. Is there a reason that this movie stuck with you?
I'm not entirely sure, and this is something that I actually sought it out and saw it in a theater. And I think maybe it was because high school for me wasn't necessarily a bad experience. Like, it just wasn't. I didn't have a girlfriend. I don't think I dated or kissed a single girl the entire time I was there. But the camaraderie of all the friends I had, and like I said, the comic book years, like that whole period of my life, eventually I want to turn it into a movie. Just not about me, but just the nostalgic value.
So fucking arrogant. I know. Like, that's going to be interesting for anybody else.
Hey, man, Kevin Smith made a career out of that shit, so.
True. You're not wrong there.
Comic book shops, all that stuff, But yeah, I don't know why, to be honest. Like, I enjoy documentaries, and there's moments in here that are definitely like kind of heartbreaking. And
well, would you recommend that high school students watch this movie? It just struck me. I think I would.
I think that was part of the stuff I read, that it was actually shown in some high schools because...
Well, yeah, that's got to be somewhat enlightening for high school students to see life from other people's point of view. Right.
Kind of like the removed point of view.
Yeah. Like showing the basketball guy, he's not just a fucking jock. He's like funny, and he's stressed out about going into the right college too. And like impressing
his
fucking
dad saying you're going to go to the army if you don't.
Right, and I think he was sort of kind of joking about that, but ooh, nobody likes to hear that. That was send you to the army.
That was like something that was one of those moments where you wonder if the family got together before, knew they were going to be filmed, and he's like, well, maybe I'll just joke and say we're going to throw you into the army because it's such a stereotype. Like,
yeah, but I think like people who have that the popular blonde girl, the Megan, in their own school, maybe they would see like, oh, okay, and like her life is kind of fucked up too. She's got all this pressure about getting into Notre Dame, and maybe that's a first world problem, but she's got like emotional things going on, and she's not sure if her parents are pushing her too hard, and It's just a matter
And she has
of
all these
seeing...
brothers and sisters in pictures that we see, but we don't
ever
see
meet
any
them
of
really.
them.
Yeah.
I feel
Were they
like
at
there
the
was
graduation?
I feel like there was a sister there in some of those family scenes, but we never actually
Yeah, we don't talk to them.
learn who that is.
Yeah, I think probably it's the... It has the most value as a documentary being seen by people currently in high school.
Wow.
So they can maybe fucking lay off everybody else around them.
Do you have a favorite character?
A favorite? I don't know if I have a favorite. The one I am most similar to is the band geek.
Yeah.
Who tries desperately to get a date.
Because he's got acne on his face?
No. What is that? What? No, that's just like personality-wise. That's
Mark
what I
just
was
looked
most...
at me very worried.
That's what I was most like in high school. I just kind of like was quiet. I didn't
Right.
know how to have fun at parties. At the few times I was invited to those things, I didn't know what the fuck to do.
There's a moment in the documentary where that character who says the worst possible things you could on a date.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, we have so much in common, and we both suck at life. So
He
I
says
thought
that
we'd get along. And she wants to dance, and he's like, "Cool, go dance. I'll be here."
But he has a brother who's in the Marine Corps.
Oh yeah.
Presumably at Camp Pendleton or San Diego, and so he goes and visits him, and the camera crew went along, and his brother brings him down to Tijuana
Jesus.
to get him hammered and drunk for the first time. And he's like, well, if he's gonna drink, it might as well be with me.
Right. I'd rather have him have his first experience with me, someone in the family, instead of a bunch of strangers at college.
And you just see this kid, like, boobs in his face, tequila shots. Like,
yeah, who are those women who are like
passed out on
dancing
the
with the
couch.
18-year-old high school kid?
Yeah, and that's the other,
Tijuana.
like this movie shows a lot of underage drinking. How does the documentary crew get around that?
Right, like I don't. As long as they don't supply the alcohol, they can't get in trouble. Because I don't.
The only
I don't
time we
think
see
there's-
them actually drink is in Mexico. But do those rules apply to, like, as a filmmaker? Is it or a documentarian? Like, how's that work?
I don't think
You're in the presence of minors drinking.
Yeah, in the presence of, but you're not abetting them. I guess it would probably depend on local laws. I am no expert. But unless there is a law that says if you see kids drinking and you don't report it, you're in trouble too, then I don't think they wouldn't have any problems. If the kids are going to do what the kids do and they're just recording it, that's still on the kids. The documentary is just evidence at that point.
I guess, but then why do 21-year-olds or people over 21 get arrested or ticketed for, like, if you had minors at the house?
I guess in that case they assume that you did give it to them. 'Cause if you're the oldest person at a high school party,
right,
and there's booze there, it's pretty much assumed that it's your fault. Now maybe the charges get dropped when they realize they can't exactly prove it, but I bet most people, if they're, freshly 21 years old,
right,
and they're still going to high school parties, they don't want trouble, and they'll just go, okay. Don't put me in prison for 2 years. I'll just admit it and do some community service or whatever the case may be. I think people just kind of cave.
I think the Hannah character is the one I relate most to. Obviously, she went into film school.
Yeah.
But she's also just quirky and weird in general.
I guess I liked her, and she's got issues, and she was afraid that it was like a hereditary thing that came from her mom's psychological issues.
Well, we meet her mom in the documentary too, and
she's not.
I'd be terrified to turn into her too.
I guess personally, I would like her. In the movie, I don't like her because she seems too much of a manic pixie dream girl.
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't appreciate.
Right.
But still, yeah, I mean, she's the one person in the movie who has sort of a contentious relationship with her parents. She wants to go to college out in California, or at least live out here.
Right.
Before she becomes a citizen of the state and gets cheaper college. So I kind of liked that she was not just going to do what her parents said or what her whole family did as a matter of keeping the tradition going. She had goals, and even though it seemed really difficult to go after them, she still was trying. So I can appreciate the tenacity. However,
she definitely was. It's funny, like
her reasoning was not the best.
She definitely had her moments of being kind of like higher, mightier than thou.
Yeah.
Where like they're at
holier than thou.
They're at like the party, and everybody else is having fun, but she's just sitting on the corner, like, like this is not my crew. I'm not gonna have fun.
That was me at
attitude, parties. And I yeah, me too. Oh, for sure.
But even talking to her parents, she was getting real snippy with those guys, because they were saying,
well, it's not like her parents were really giving her any leeway. I mean, her mom was basically saying, don't go to California, you're going to get raped.
Yeah, like you're a young single woman living alone, you're going to be a victim, you're a target.
I know about this stuff, I read about this stuff. Like, that tells me the mom is like paranoid who watches way too much Law and Order.
Yeah, reads the news too much or something. But I guess her argument against taking her parents' advice was, I don't want your life. This is my life, and I'm going to do something way different than yours.
Which every kid, I feel like,
has you gotta fight back. Like, I don't.
Till you get older and you get the responsibilities, and you're like, oh, now I understand.
Now I understand why Mom and Dad wanted steady work, for 25 years. That may be a boring job that doesn't affect a lot of people, but it pays the bills.
Didn't want to spend $25,000 on art school.
Yeah, holy shit! When I was applying to colleges, I tried USC. The tuition for the first year was like $35,000, and it was only going to go up every year. Mm-hmm. So it would have ended up being like over $150,000 for 4 years at USC.
You'd still be paying that off.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I'm in a way I'm kind of glad that I sucked at school, because all the schools I was applying to were like Cal Arts. And Cal Arts was, another $30,000 school. Mm-hmm. NYU, same deal. USC. UCLA was like the cheapest.
Your 2.8 was not doing it for them?
No. So I ended up just getting into community college and then getting good grades then and transferred over.
That is actually the best plan for a lot of people. Like, do all your core curriculum at community college, some local thing that is accredited.
It's a harder school than when I transferred to university. University was a breeze.
Yeah.
Community college was actually difficult.
Yeah, it was still a real school. But it's so much cheaper. You get your core shit out of the way, and then you can move on to what you really want to do and focus on it instead of having to do, like, goddamn American history.
But, when you're a kid, you don't understand. You want to...
Yeah.
You think in, like, it either is or it isn't, and it has to be is.
You know what this movie shows me a lot is that teenagers do not have good foresight. They have a lack of planning skills.
Right.
They fail to see what will happen if I spray paint a dick and the word fag on this guy's window.
Well, it's like the biggest problems are the ones like right in front of their faces,
Yeah.
What are people going to think of me?
I mean, they're still kids. We're still kids at that age, and we kind of go, we can still act out and everything will be okay because we're minors.
Yeah.
And people will forgive us, and if they don't, fuck them. But actions have consequences, and these kids still are learning that in this movie.
So I think that sums up this movie. I think you're right. It's a good one-time view, and like, it's a good documentary. Like it's
American movie about Mark Borchardt,
right?
The horror filmmaker.
We should do that at some point.
I can watch that again almost any time.
We should, because it's been a long time. And there's another one. Is it called American Dreams?
I don't know that one.
American Dream, maybe. It's another documentary, I think in the 80s, and that won the Academy Award for Best Documentary. And it was about like a town going on strike. I forget what it was, what their union
industry was.
Their industry was
it like cars? Coal?
No, it was something, like that, where the entire town went on strike, and they fought until basically the entire, everyone's broke, and it just kind of breaks down and falls apart. Mm-hmm. And and then people start taking their jobs back, or the company closes down, and the entire town's just fucked.
It's like a fucking wasteland in the middle of wherever.
Right. That was a fascinating documentary. Yeah, we should come back and do more documentaries.
Yeah, this was a good first choice, though.
Good insert into it. Well,
okay. Well, we are the hell with this. You can find us on Twitter at THWT Podcast and on Instagram
at the hell with this podcast.
If you want to go to dragonwagonradio.com or thehellwiththis.com, you can find more of our podcasts and our partner podcasts under the same network affiliation.
Dragon Wagon.
I'm just going to keep saying words. I recommend Myth Understood. That's not a lisp. That's the title of the fucking podcast.
Myth Understood. That was a lisp. Anyway, till next time.
It's Dragon Wagon.
Gamebox Monthly sends a new awesome indie tabletop game right to your door every month. There are multiple subscriptions to choose from, and you can personalize them to fit your style. Also, you're guaranteed to never get a title you already have, letting you focus on what matters most, having a great time with great people.
So visit GameboxMonthly.com and use the promo code DRAGON to get an exclusive discount just for the Hell With This listeners.
Once again, that's GameboxMonthly.com.
Rediscover social.